Today we need to talk about the cops. Bad boys, what you go, what you go, what you... Welcome back, everybody. And Presidente here with another video. My throat's a little scratchy, but we're gonna work through this, right? And this episode is brought to you by Grab Nuts by Oishi. Oh yeah, don't forget the memes at the end. Okay? Like and subscribe. Now, today we are going to talk about who? Cops. That's right. Yes, sir. Yeah. That's enough. So we're going to talk about cops a little bit in general at first, and then we're going to narrow it down to a couple of experiences that I've had living out here in Southwest Texas. Now, before we go into anything else, I normally, for the most part, back the blue. That's right, for the most part. There's instances that I don't agree with, like the cops out in California going and arresting some guy back during the whole COVID thing because he was surfing by himself out on the beach. Really? You're gonna obey that order? Don't agree with that. Anyhow, like I said, for the most part, back to blue. Now, in the small community where I live, there's a lot of law enforcement. For the amount of people that live here. Some people say that we are over policed. Yeah, that could be the case when you have 3 or 4 different law enforcement agencies that can stop you for anything, right? So I've been around police and military police to start out, and side note for that. So in the Air Force, we used to call them security police. Army call them MPs, military police, and so those are the terms that I grew up around. And now we would give our security police a hard time because that's what you do. You give you give them a hard time. You give other branches a hard time. I was Air Force, of course, it gave crap to all the other services. We give each other a hard time. We love each other, but because we all work together as a team. But there's things that make us different, and we're gonna point those differences out and bring it home, and we're gonna hammer you for that, right? That's just how it is. That's just how it is, right? But that's part of military life. If you've never been military, you just won't understand it. Sorry, you just won't understand it. Like, for example, this whole security police, we used to go around saying that you couldn't spell stupid without SP. And we had other jokes too, and I think that's why they changed it to a little softer term. They call it security forces. Nuts, right? Because everything has to be a softer language. Just security forces, and I don't know, never came up with a term. But if y'all know any term that or joke around SF, security forces, please put it in the comments. I'd like to know. That I will get to the cop thing, I promise. But there's this joke. There's a joke that they talk about your gate guards. If you ever been to a base or any military installation, when you go through the gate, there's usually a gate guard in there, and it's usually security police or security forces, right, or military police that are waving you on. So back in the day, we had the little stickers on the windshield, and that meant the car was registered on base. You could come on base, blah, 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 blah. And they always did this, not saluting only if it was an officer, but basically, waving them in. Well, we had a joke that said that the reason why they did this was because there was a picture of a tank on their palm. And so they'd look at, not a tank, not a tank, not a... It's funny, okay? It is funny. It's funny, okay? We would give them a hard time. By the way, did you know that the same entry exam for security forces or security police, they gave that same test to the Marines? I bet you didn't know that. Sure did. It was like, okay, which one's the thumb? Hang on. Let me mix them up. Let me mix them up. Okay, now, which is the thumb? I love my Marine brothers, okay? But gotta poke fun at them. Okay, so let's go back to the point of this video, right? Which is cops. Now, again, I live in a very sparsely populated part of Texas, and it's in the Southwest. So we have our regular DPS, right? Department of Public Safety, which is our troopers, also your highway patrol guys. We have our different town PDs. We have the sheriffs. We have the university cops. We have FBI. We have DEA. We got Border Patrol. We got a lot of law enforcement. Okay, I worked for about 11 years hand in hand with them, not being law enforcement myself, but working hand in hand with them. So I kind of knew what they I knew exactly what they did and things like that, especially on the Border Patrol side and that type of thing. But there's a bit of I would say I don't want to say a hierarchy or anything like that. I guess I would say a list of preferences, personal preferences, right? And I'm basically gonna talk about our DPS, the local PD, and sheriff. Okay, sheriff's officer. Now, for those who don't know, the sheriffs are the only ones who are constitutionally elected, right? So they are constitutionally appointed, which is one of the reasons why I like them, because usually you have a good sheriff, they're going to back you up, conforming with the Constitution, right? Your constitutional rights, which is why I like the sheriff's office. So that, in my book, they're number one as far as our local law enforcement goes. Then you have your local PD for each town. Well, in this track, I'm not going to tell you the names of the towns. I don't want y'all to come pay me a visit. So, but there's 3 towns, and between the 3 towns, it's less than 10,000 people. It's a small area. So one of the towns doesn't have their PD, but 2 of the towns have PD. One of them, I can kind of understand they have a PD because the town's growing. The other one, the town is getting smaller as far as permanent residents. Do they really need a PD? Yeah, that's debatable. I got my suspicions that they were looking over at the sheriff's department and going, man, these guys are bringing in some income. They're stopping, because we're not that far away from the border. They're stopping trafficking. They're stopping this. They're doing this. They're, of course, making regular traffic stops, and they're making money off of this. So I do believe part of it was monetary incentive. They were seeing what the sheriff's department was making, the income, or the revenue, what I want to say, the revenue, and so they decided to stand one up. How is that working? I don't know. Is it true? I don't know. That's my impression. That's my impression, and I'm not the only one that felt that way. But I digress. So then you have, after that, you have your DPS, your Department of Public Safety, your troopers. And here they are all over the place. Of course, we have a U.S. highway that runs through 2 of the towns. We have I-10 not too far away. We got I-20 not too far away. Yeah, it makes sense to have some, but we have what I would consider an inordinate amount of DPS. I got stations and detachments and um, stops and so on. A little bit too much in my opinion. And just trying to get home, just trying to go. You're just trying to go to work. You're just trying to go home because you have a long weekend and stuff. And sure enough, right when you want to go somewhere, now what? Right? So yeah, you end up getting stopped for whatever reason. Now I'm going to tell a little experience I had. Anyway, so I'm driving at the time. Well, I still have it, but I was driving. The story is based on what I was driving. I was driving my little RX-8, and in the front, it's number one, it's a sports car, so there isn't anything on the front for you to attach a license plate. So it had a license plate in the back. No clue where the front license plate was, but that's how I was driving it, and I drove it like that for easily over a year, going back and forth to work, driving on that highway, driving out to the other cities, out Midland, Odessa, no problem, right? No problem. Out to El Paso, I might have gone out to El Paso. Anyway, no issues. Well, I guess this particular month, DPS decided they were going to start stopping people that didn't have a license plate in the front. Now, again, it's a sports car. It's not, they don't have like a little, placard where you can stick one on there. It's not made for that. There's no bolts in the front, right? It's just not. It's not made for that. But I'm going. I think I was coming from work, going home, and of course, what happens? I get stopped. No problem. Pull over. I know I'm doing the speed limit because I know sports cars attract attention. It's not red. I mean, if it was red, it would be even worse, but it's not. That the color itself doesn't attract attention, but it is a little sports car. So guy comes over, and I know he's got some rookie with him. He's got some rookie because he's showing him the ropes. And I'm like, whatever, I get it. You got to train your guy, but the guy is being really gung ho, right? So he's checking. He's going, oh, well, that tint and looks a little, and he goes grabs that, the little gauge and check. Oh no, it's legal. I'm like, yeah, I know it's legal. I know it's legal. What isn't illegal? And so go through the whole thing. So and then finally he says, well, look, the reason why I stopped you is because you don't have a license plate in the front. I said, well, there's not a place for it in there. He says, well, you just put 2 holes in. I'm like, what? I'm not gonna put 2 holes in the front of the bumper of my RX-8. Oh, are you crazy? But anyway, I said, I'll figure something out, right? And I said, well, I'll just throw it in the dash. Oh no, that's not legal. You gotta have it in the front of the bumper. I said, you can see it on the dash, see it through the window. No. All right, fine. Then he tells me, he said, okay, look, I'm just giving you a warning for this, but you get up to 3. This is not a serious offense. It's just, but after that, you start getting fines and all this other stuff. I'm like, all right, well, I'll try to find it and figure out a way to put it. I'm not gonna drill 2 holes in the front bumper of my sports car. So I go. So next day, I'm going to work. And in the middle of about midway, sure enough, what happens? What happens? Well, that happens. Little delay. And I get stopped. And I had that feeling, right? That my intuition hit. And I had that feeling, and I said, no, you're going to talk about that license plate again. And sure enough, he said, like, you know why I pulled you over? I'm like, yeah. no license plate in the front. He said, exactly. I said, yeah, I know. Yesterday, I got stopped for that. I looked for it. I don't know where it is. I may have to order some new ones. And he says, well, you only get one more time to be stopped, and then start giving you fines. And I'm like, damn, man, y'all just stopped me yesterday. You're gonna give me a chance to find them or order some. It's not gonna come in the next day. We're out here in the boonies, right? He's like, well, that don't matter to me. You need to have a license plate in the front. Blah, blah, blah. Here's your warning. Bet. So I take off. Not 5 minutes after leaving that stop, I'm going out and I see this DPS, and it's female this time. She turns around, and sure enough, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, right? So of course I pull over, and she comes over. Excuse me. She comes over and says, well, I'm pulling you over. And I said, I know, because I don't have a license plate. She says, yeah. I said, didn't you just hear the call? 5 minutes. Oh, no. I'm like, what do you mean no? I work on y'all's radios. I know you heard the call. You had to have heard it, unless you were over there just crashed out, snoozing, and you didn't hear me. But I know you heard the call. No, I did not hear it. It doesn't work like that. Bull! I know how it works. I know how your frequencies work. That's my job. I know this stuff. Well, it was my job. But sure enough, she writes another one. She said, well, the next one is going to be a fine. But, oh, that's the thing. She knew I had been stopped 3 times. Oh, that you could figure out. But you couldn't figure out 5 minutes ago that I got stopped. And she's like, oh, I must have been another car. No, I'm the only one with that type of car in this area. I would say easily a 200-mile radius. Nobody has a car like mine. So sure enough, I mean, what do you want me to do? You want me to shit a license plate right here? I just got stopped. I haven't even made it to work. So anyway, I go and, I start looking for that dang license plate. And I found it. And I did not put 2 holes in the bumper of my RX-8. I found a way just to tie wrap through the little vent and put my license plate there. And then that month went, and never heard of anybody getting pulled over again for front license plate. I guess it was just something that, they got like a wheel somewhere. Oh, this month we're doing license plates. All right. Next month, all right, red cars. Whatever. Man, I was upset about that. And I knew she could tell. She knew. I know she knew. Man, I was upset. But anyway, sometimes you just gotta grab nuts and then move on, right? And things end up working out. All right, that's it, I think, for this video. Don't forget the memes at the end. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.